Greetings to the Global Young Academy. I'm John Hildebrand. I am the Foreign Secretary of the United States National Academy of Sciences. I'm a biological scientist specializing in neuroscience, um, but with many other biological interests. And I'm a professor at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. I've been asked to speak to you about the question, what can scientists, and especially young scientists, do to heal the Earth? Well, the question implies that the Earth is sick, because to heal means to make sound or healthy again, or to alleviate distress or suffering. Therefore, the question implies that the Earth needs healing, uh, that there's something we can do about the illness of the Earth. Now, I see this question as having several different levels and different ramifications. On the one hand, it's clear that the overriding cause of sickness is global climate change. This is an existential issue for all of us. The Earth's surface temperature currently is warming at an unprecedented rate, and according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the scientific evidence for warming of the climate system is unequivocal. And yet there are many people who mount all sorts of spurious arguments against this critically important fact. Uh, the problem with these people, the problem with acceptance of the reality of global climate change and the demand that it places on us as scientists to try to help heal the wound, is that it's politics, it's the behavior of people that is the enemy here. Uh, I, I could cite all kinds of issues that are harmful to human beings around the world and are exacerbated by global climate change. We have huge problems of food and nutrition security, water and energy security, healthcare, uh, and access to basic education all over the world. There's essentially no place in the world that escapes entirely from these challenges. Uh, and what we need to address these challenges, and it's never been clearer than it is under the current conditions of global pandemic, is global cooperation and collaboration among scientists. Collaboration is really critically important. The notion there is that we're all equal as scientists, no matter where we come from, and that we all have something to contribute uh, toward solutions to the critical problems that I just mentioned and others. Um, we need to strive for basic understanding of the importance of science and how science works on the part of lay people. People aren't born understanding how science works, and it's no wonder that there are a lot of misunderstandings, particularly given the fact that in many countries, if not most countries, the quality of K through 12 or K through 16 education with respect to science is rather poor. There are lots of reasons for that, and I don't blame teachers, but we as scientists need to argue and strive and contribute in all ways that we can in our own regions and our own countries to improve education and science for children and young adults, and in fact for lifelong learning of adults, so that they understand how science works and what the uncertainties of science are, and why it's a wonderful way of knowing. Uh, we need to do this all the time, but now I think we need it more than ever as we struggle with the pandemic and how to emerge from it. And the buzzwords that come to mind there, I've heard them many times in the last few weeks, are that as we recover from the pandemic, we need to build back better. We need to build back everything about how our societies work in all of our countries uh, better, with the knowledge and hindsight that we've gained from this challenge of the pandemic. Clearly, there are big healthcare problems. Clearly, there are terrible political problems. And clearly, there are big problems of misunderstanding skepticism, doubt about science. We have to do something about that. Now, most of us care greatly about our specialties, whether it's high energy physics or entomology or uh, how the hippocampus works in the brain. But we can't afford uh, just to hunker down in our labs and focus on those interests without at the same time caring about what's important in our societies, in our countries, in our towns, in our communities. And that importance from our point of view is education, understanding, and support for science. Uh, I urge all of you to think about how you can get engaged in that important endeavor. I'm put in mind of a very important speech that I heard a few years ago uh, by John Porter. He was a representative in the House of Representatives from the state of Illinois and a big supporter of science, particularly health science, while he was in Congress. Uh, he gave a speech at our National Academy of Sciences when he was awarded our highest honor, the Public Welfare Medal. And in that speech, he said something that I will never forget. He looked out at an audience of hundreds of scientists, very accomplished scientists, and he said, "You all need to run for office." Well, almost nobody in that room ever thought of the possibility or even the likelihood of running for office, elected office, because we're not politicians, we're scientists. But he said, you won't win, but by running for office, you'll be part of the conversation. And what I think about in remembering that important speech and that wonderful challenge is that by being part of the conversation, whether it's running for office or serving on a school committee in our town or just in any other way engaging in the civic life of our communities, we bring the perspectives of science to those conversations. We are part of the conversation. And probably there's no better way for people out there in the community to get a sense of what science is and how it works and how it can help heal the earth than to meet and engage with scientists. How can they do that if we don't engage with them? So that's my challenge to you. Join me in doing what we can to, to, to bring the beauty and power of science uh, and an understanding of how it works to our friends and colleagues, our neighbors in our communities. Thanks for asking me to contribute to the conversation in your important deliberations. I'm a big admirer of the Global Young Academy, and I wish I could be with you in person rather than through this electronic medium. Very best wishes.